Welcome today to our feature on walking, and more importantly about the benefits of walking and the opportunities around Northamptonshire. My name is Will Heckford, I'm from Northamptonshire Sport, I'm the Sports Development Officer, and I'm joined here today by a local legend with Dave Askew from Northamptonshire Walks, who set up a Northamptonshire Walks blog. And we're going to talk to Dave today about some of the aspects that he's developed through that particular campaign. So, Dave, welcome.
Thanks, Will.
Can you just explain to us, what is Northamptonshire Walks and what can people access from it?
Okay, yeah, sure I can. It's a website that I set up, blog I set up around about 8 years ago now. It's currently got, I think it's 166 walks in Northamptonshire on it. Perfectly accessible to everybody. All the walks are free to do. We don't believe in maps. It's something that's a little bit different. So all the maps are described by photographs. So we stood here today, so I might actually say to you, do you know what, at this point 6, walk down the avenue here at Great Brinton. So it's basically done on a like that, so that families can go out walking, and you could actually give the walk to a child and say, okay, today you're the walk leader, please go out and you lead the walk. So not only have we got about 166 walks in Northamptonshire on it, and there's more being added all the time, I tend to travel, we do a lot of travelling all over the world, so you can come for a walk with me in Sydney, in Melbourne, you can come around the food markets at Palermo or something like that, and all over the UK. So there's about another 150 walks all over the UK as well.
Fantastic resource, really. And today we're here on Walk 6.
Yeah.
So we're doing the Great Brinton and Little Brinton Circular. So tell us where we're going today, Dave.
This is one of the most popular walks on on the website and also the Facebook group. So we start here in the beautiful village hamlet of Great Brinton. We're outside the church where the Spencer family chapel is, where Princess Diana and all the Spencer family are from. And the walk takes us from here, we go across the fields, then through into the village itself, and then we exit on the south side, go over the hills, fantastic views all the way down to Little Brinton, where we actually pick up the road again. Great opportunity to stop for a drink there at the Saracen's Head, I think it's called, or a sort of bite to eat, before we come back into the countryside, come back across, walk down, fantastic views over Althorpe House, and then ended up by walking up this terrific avenue. So it's about 4.5 miles, something like that.
Fantastic. We better get on with it then, haven't we?
Okay, let's go. Will.
Let's go. So over the last few months, even up to a year, it's been really popular, the Northamptonshire Walks, and you've done a number of blogs and articles, talking about the success of the walks. But not only that, you've been quite open and honest about some of your own health struggles. Can you talk us through, how you came about setting up, what you were doing before, and about your health now?
Yeah, well, I'd had a career around about 25 years in banking, quite a stressful job at times. And I wasn't feeling too well, and my wife said to me, look, I think you need to go for a checkup. So a typical bloke said, no, I'm absolutely fine, I don't need to go for a checkup. So anyway, I went down to the doctors, and the doctor said, why are you here? And I said, I've been sent by my wife, basically. So he said, okay, we'll do a couple of tests, and he decided to start off with a blood pressure test. So he said to me, right, we'll take your blood pressure, and his first words, which I'll never forget to me, were, okay, now take your shoes off and go and lie down there. And apparently my blood pressure was so high, I was in that amount of having either a stroke or a heart attack. So that obviously made me think, okay, now it's time to sort of change my life a bit. So withdrew from working so much for a start. My youngest daughter ran a blog, so she said, Dad, you go out walking, you take lots of photographs, you're quite good at writing, why don't I help you start a blog? So that's how it started, and I used to go out walking most days, take the photographs, and I'd be sitting there writing the walks up at night, and my wife used to say to me, do you think anybody's ever going to read this? And I went, no, there's not a chance. And that's how it was really for about the first 6 years. The Facebook membership group grew quite steadily, and then the pandemic struck and people couldn't go out as much, so that's when it all took off. So I think we went from something like 1,500 people on the Facebook group up to what it is today, just over 25,000 members on that. And the website this year is currently around about 630,000 views, so we'll hit 1 million views just on that little Northamptonshire website this year, which is incredible.
Yeah, unbelievable. And, considering, where you came from, and that real health scare, that's really inspiring, I think, for a lot of people to take that step and and to be active. The guidelines for adults at the moment is to do 150 minutes a week of exercise, and walking is perfect for that. You can do it in your own time. The benefits, not only physical but also the mental and social benefits.
Yeah, that's really good. And I mean, I get a lot of people every week. I get lots of emails and messages from people actually, and some quite real humbling emails and messages that say, what my walks have done for them as well. And at times you read it and you think, does all this really happen because of this? And I always say, if just one of my walks has actually helped just one person, then it's all been worthwhile.
I think this is a good opportunity to introduce a short video which was made by 24 Hour Fitness, and it's all about the benefits and really helps to illustrate the benefits of walking. It's called 23.5 hours. Take a look and we'll see you back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Evans, and I'm presenting this visual lecture called 23.5 Hours in partnership with 24 Hour Fitness. It's great to be working with people who have a passion for helping others achieve their individual fitness goals and promoting positive change in their lives. So I have a big interest in preventive medicine, which can mean a lot of things from, cancer screening to eating more fiber to having a good social network, and I mean that in the old sense of the word. Weighing less, drinking less, smoking less, controlling your blood pressure, cholesterol, and so on and so forth. So all of these things are incredibly important, and I wouldn't want you to minimize your efforts in any one category, but I want to know what comes first. What has the biggest impact? What has the biggest return on investment? What makes the biggest difference to your health? So I did my research, and I found an answer, at least for me, and it's tricky because all these things are sort of overlapping. But I picked out this intervention, and because of its breadth, it worked for so many different health problems, and that's what I found so cool about it. So just to kind of walk you through a quick list. So this intervention in patients with knee arthritis who receive 1 hour of treatment 3 times a week reduced their rates of pain and disability by 47%. In older patients, it reduced progression to dementia and Alzheimer's by around 50%. For patients at high risk of diabetes and coupled with other lifestyle interventions, it reduced progression to frank diabetes by 58%. Following over 10,000 Harvard alumni for over 12 years, those that had the intervention had a 23% lower risk of death than those who didn't get the treatment. It's the #1 treatment of fatigue, and of course the kind of outcome of choice there, my favorite outcome is quality of life, which is really all of the above and really about making your life better, and this treatment has been shown over and over again to improve quality of life. So the question is, what's the medicine, and what is 23.5 hours? So the medicine was exercise, mostly walking, so not triathlons. And let me just put it a different way. I think what I'm asking you to do is, if you think about your typical day, so there's 24 hours, and so you might spend most of your day, this varies obviously, but couch surfing, sitting at work, obviously sleeping. And what the evidence that I'm going to show you kind of tells me is the best thing you can do for your health is to spend half an hour being active, maybe an hour, and that if you can do that, you can realize all the benefits I've described in the previous slides. So if exercise is a medicine, what's a dose? So when I think of dose, I think of how long, how often, and how intense. I'm going to give you a slightly mixed message, but essentially more activity is better. But I must say the rate of return seems to decline after 20 or 30 minutes a day. So if you're being active less than 150 minutes a week, or more if you're a kid, an hour a day if you're a kid, my flag goes up in the clinic. So my personal take on this is that the literature draws a very broad brush, and so we see big differences when somebody goes from not doing anything to doing something, and after that the return is more granular. So if we took the Nurses Health Study, women who went from 0 activity to just 1 hour a week reduced their heart disease rates by almost half. So you can break it down, so it can be 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes if you want to do 30 minutes of exercise, so it can be broken into 3. If you're only going to do it if it's pre-booked with friends, I have couples that take a half-hour walk every morning or evening to organize their life. A dog is a great walking coach. The data showing 67% of dog walkers achieve the 150 minutes a week just with the dog walking. And finally, of course, your commute, getting off stop early, taking the stairs, and so on and so forth. The next way to think about it is the reverse. So what I call sitting disease. We know that being sedentary is bad for your health, but a researcher named Leonard Veerman wanted to quantify this, and he did so down in Australia in a big study they did there. They found, compared with persons who watch no TV, those that spend a lifetime average of 6 hours a day watching TV can expect to live about 5 years left. I mean, that's incredible. But then I think, who watches 6 hours a day of TV? And it turns out the average adult in the USA spends about 5 hours a day watching TV or screens. So I find this fascinating that we never think of the TV as something that's bad for our health, but clearly it's as powerful as many other risk factors for chronic disease. So I'm going to finish by asking you a question. And this may have some personal challenges for you. So, you might be very busy with work or kids or both, and you may be in pain or have other priorities. But my question to you is, can you limit your sitting and sleeping to just 23.5 hours a day? So whether it's hitting the gym and attaining fitness goals or walking the dog or taking the stairs, get out there and be active. Thanks again to 24 Hour Fitness for bringing you this message.
Absolutely, and I think that really underlines the benefits of walking, and not just the physical benefits that the walking that can do for us, but also the mental and social benefits.
I agree, and I mean there have been days where I've got to force myself to go out for a walk because I don't really feel like going out for a walk myself. But then you come out somewhere like this and you can just stand there and there's a little plane going over somewhere, but apart from that there's no noise at all. The only noise we've got here is the birds. And I quite often describe myself as having Julie Andrews moments, and the thing behind that is the Sound of Music, where she walks up to the top of the mountain and you stand there like this and you go, okay, this is good, and we'll do a twirl.
So here we are, we're just by Althorpe. So we've got hundreds of walks now listed on Northamptonshire Walks, so a brilliant resource for people to go and access and go and do walks themselves. I imagine it keeps you fairly busy, setting those up, but also maintaining those walks.
Yeah, it is. Setting up is the hard bit, really. I mean, if I go out and do a new walk, then it's a case of going out, taking the camera, taking all the pictures. I'm pretty good. I don't need to write a lot of things down because it sticks in there quite well. But then it's getting home, sitting there, and it takes me probably around about 4 or 5 nights to actually get it from doing the walk to getting it actually onto the website itself. And what I pride myself on, it's not just a fact of here's the walk, here's the pictures, go and do it. There's a lot of research goes into it as well. So there's a lot of links into history and bits and bobs.
What's your favourite walk of all of it? This is the big question that's come from our Facebook page. People are really keen. What's Dave's favourite walk?
Well, that's an absolutely impossible question to answer because Northamptonshire is just so diverse. I mean, if you look at the different regions, if you go out to the east of the county, then you've got Fotheringhay out there. That's one of my all-time favourites. Basically because you've got the old castle there, that's where Mary Queen of Scots was beheaded, that's where Richard III was born. You've got all the river, the River Nen, or the Nene, whichever you like to call it. You've got all the water meadows. So that's my favourite out in the east of the county. If you come across to the west, then that's what I call the alpine region of Northamptonshire. That's where people say to me, Dave, there's no hills in Northamptonshire. I can take you out there and I can show you some really big hills. So there's a walk there that goes from Everton all the way across to Preston Capes, and then down to around the Badby area, Mantles Heath. Fantastic walking. The other thing that I always say to people is go and walk on the canals, because it doesn't matter where you're walking on the canals, you can do the same walk day in, day out, and you'll always see something different. And then the other big thing not to forget is all the towns and villages. And I think I've got about 35 walks all around the different towns and different villages in Northamptonshire. Lots of history to explore as well.
So not only can you get maps, these mapped areas with photos to go on your walks, you also get a great history lesson of the county as well.
That's right, yeah, that's absolutely right.
In addition to the walks with Northamptonshire Walks, there are also opportunities for group-led walks through the Ramblers Wellbeing Walks, formerly called Health Walks. So these are opportunities for people to get regular activity. The walks themselves last between 10 to 90 minutes. and they're led by volunteers themselves who are giving up their time, to give people the opportunities to be active and be out and enjoy the scenery, and both in the countryside and in the towns across Northamptonshire. So there is a big network of walks that are available for people to access. You can do that through northamptonshiresport.org. In addition, we haven't mentioned it already, we've got Northamptonshire Walks, as we mentioned, with the resources of all those walks through northamptonshirewalks.co.uk. So, Dave, it's been a really difficult year this year with the pandemic, with COVID-19, really challenging for everybody. And we've seen, nationally and locally, there's been a big drop-off in terms of exercise and activity. We're now in Mental Health Awareness Week this week. So obviously a really key factor, is keeping people active, to combat that. Have you had some stories from some of your walkers that you can talk about?
Yeah, I have, Will, and it's actually interesting you say about the health walks, because I know a couple of our members on the Facebook group who are actually leaders of those health walks as well. But no, there's lots of stories coming through about how people, especially during the really strict lockdown, where they're having to walk from their doorstep, and they're having to do that day in and day out. So what we've tried to do is give them different things to look for. So they might go out and on the Tuesday they go out, they've got to look for things that are all triangles. Or Wednesday might be a red colour walk, so they might actually go out and spot things that are red and post the photos up and share them with different people. But certainly with the group walks, that's something that we're looking to start very, very shortly, provided we get some good weather. And it's not only, like you say, I can see where we can link in together to work with the health walks as well. Certainly I get a lot of people come to me that are maybe single ladies that say, I don't like walking alone. So we will look to set up different things for those type of people, or we may have people with children that want separate specific walks. So we'll set up, as well as having general groups, we'll set up specific groups as well.
Excellent. So that's the next steps then for Northamptonshire Walks.
It is. I'm hopefully starting that in the next couple of weeks. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So if somebody's thinking about going for a walk for the first time, it's quite easy. We slip into those habits if it's not regular to make up, not excuses, but there's always barriers to people participating in walks or any sort of physical activity. So what sort of advice would you give them? Is there any specialist equipment people need to come on the walks?
Okay, well, I think we've just got our answer there actually. But no, it depends, I suppose, on a couple of things. First of all, the length of the walk, and also looking at the weather report. So if the weather report's going to be raining halfway through your walk, then obviously take some protective gear with you. Most of the walks that we do in Northamptonshire can be done in just a pair of normal trainers. Take some water, but you don't need to take full medical kits or anything like that. And the beauty that we've got as well is that on the website all of the walks are grouped together in a couple of interesting places. So first of all, the spreadsheets, they give you all of the walks by distance and by time to do. So you can actually pick and choose and start off with something not walking for a long time, that's a little short walk. We also put down on every single walk about the difficulty. So are there hills, are there stiles, are the walks dog friendly? So if you've got a big dog with you as well, can you get the dog through underneath the stiles? Because you don't want to get halfway into say a 5-6 mile walk and suddenly find you've got to lift a massive great Labrador over a stile or something like that. So there's plenty of information there to do that.
We're very lucky in beautiful Northamptonshire. We've got countryside and we've got town walks as well. Thanks very much, Dave.
It's a pleasure.